So how do we break up a friendship? What do? Do you just stop talking? Do you avoid people? Do you stop answering the phone? Well, in the age of the internet, it's really easy. You just unfriend. You just don't reply. You delete people. I have to remain anonymous in all of this, but I have been monitoring your troubles, and I can say your daughter is in danger, as are you. There are people out to get your family, and you must be careful. I will watch closely, but I have to remain a secret. Is it really just that easy to just delete someone? And what if it's the worst mistake you ever made? Well, welcome to Extraordinary Stories Podcast. Hey, how are you? Are you well? Are you good? I am. Okay, continuing the deep dive into the web, the internet. Here we go with another really weird one, and this is a weave of a tale. Very weavy indeed. Not the sort of, bitch hold my weave hairpiece kind of thing, but a very twisted tale. Are you ready? Okay, let's go. The Potter family was made up of the following people. Okay, so there's Father Buddy, there's Mother Barbara, and there is daughter Janelle. Now, in about 2005, the Potters were living in Memphis, Tennessee, when they decided they wanted to move. They wanted to move from where they lived, and they wanted to go to a place called Mountain City, which is still in Tennessee, a little bit away from where they lived. I watched this absolutely brilliant clip where someone is describing Mountain City in Tennessee, and he just says, there is a whole lot of crazy up there. And I think we're going to learn that in this story. Now, Buddy and Barbara, the parents, so they were in their sort of mid to late 50s, and their daughter Janelle was in her later 20s. But for the Potter family, Janelle was less like a sort of late 20s adult and more like a child. So Janelle had been born with some learning difficulties, and this meant that Buddy and Barbara were, of course, very, very protective of Janelle. Now, you'll get lots of conflicting descriptions of Janelle. Some will say, right, some of the things you will read will say, oh, she was so childlike, she spoke like a 5-year-old. No, I watched interviews, she doesn't speak like a 5-year-old. What I will say is that, yeah, she does speak with a voice that suggests she's younger than someone of 29 years old. But what's sort of interesting is when you watch her is she physically looks and carries herself very much like an adult. Very, very much like an adult. It's just that her voice maybe sounds a little bit younger. It is difficult, and what those learning difficulties are not named. So that's another kind of problem here, is you don't really know what that is. It's not so profound in Janelle that you would think, oh, she can't ever be on her own. She can't ever do things on her own. She can. She can absolutely function as an adult. But you can understand, so Barbara and Buddy, they have a real sort of protective vibe with her, and they're very, very keen to keep her close to them at all times. Does that really suit Janelle? Is that actually what she needs? Well, let's see. So the family move to Mountain City, you know, the place that's just a whole lot of crazy. And when they do, they immediately find issues. They say that the town just won't accept them because they are outsiders. They weren't born and raised there, so, you know, that just makes them outsiders. Whether it's true or it's not true that they were treated really badly by the people of Mountain City is up for debate, but it's certainly what the Potter family will tell you happened. They will say that they were, you know, when they went to church at the weekends, they weren't welcome. When they went into stores, people were unfriendly to them. You know, there's two sides to every story, but they're definitely sticking to this is how they felt in this place. How to describe Barbara and Buddy? Well, okay, so Buddy is ex-army, and what does Barbara do? Oh, Barbara works for a packaging company. She's an administrator for a packaging company. Now, they get described as God-fearing and gun-loving. What a description. Now, Janelle spends her adult life essentially indoors with her parents, or at least with her parents all the time. Like I said, very sheltered, not allowed to do a lot of things alone. And although she is capable, very capable, this is what her parents have decided. They decide to treat her like a child. And sort of cousins and other people in the Potter family will say that they had tried previously to maybe say to Barbara and to Buddy, look, you should maybe try and give Janelle just a little bit more independence. She is nearly 30. She's more than capable of living her own life, but they just felt no. So in the case of Janelle, when you are that sheltered and you're isolated and, you know, you don't have a lot of friends and you don't have a lot of people you can speak to, where do you go? Well, of course, you go to the internet. And that's where Janelle found herself spending a lot of time. And on the internet, the main place that she spent a lot of time on is just a little thing, you might have heard of it, it's called Facebook. Janelle is very active on Facebook. She's friends with quite a few people in the town on Facebook. She's always trying to add new friends to it. She's constantly posting things. You know, this is her sort of social outlet. That's fine. Okay, that's fine for Janelle. Now, here's something that happens, and this is the first sort of thing that's going to put into motion a whole series of events. Barbara one day has to go out into town. She's got a few little errands to run, and one of them is that she needs to go to the chemist, the local pharmacy, and pick up a prescription. And what she does is, she says to Janelle, okay, you wait in the queue for the prescription. I'm just going to go, there's a couple of things I need to get, and I'll come back here and get you in a minute. So it's when Janelle is standing in the queue, she gets up to get the prescription filled, and the pharmacist, a nice middle-aged woman called Tracy, starts chatting to her, and they just have a little bit of a chat here and there. Tracy will say, I felt sorry for Janelle. She seemed so isolated. She seemed so alone. So I took her number, and over the course of a few weeks, you know, we would call back and forth. Just, we'd have a chat here and there. And we formed a friendship. Okay. just going to pause. Is that a bit weird? Is it? I don't know. I can't tell. I think if my chemist was like, hey, you, give me your phone number, I think I'd be like, nah, you're alright, thanks. But maybe not. I mean, I don't think Tracy has genuinely got any ulterior motive here. I think she just saw someone who was a bit lonely, a bit vulnerable, and thought maybe needs a friend. I'm not being mean about Tracy. So, Janelle and her new best pal, the pharmacist Tracy, they are talking on the phone. They're having, nice chit chats. But Janelle is saying to her, I don't really get the chance to go out and meet people. I don't have any. Basically, my parents are my friends. I don't have anyone outside of that. And Tracy says to her, look, I've got a little group of friends and we meet up, a couple of times a week. We do things like we have barbecues, we go swimming in the lake, we have parties. And if you wanted to come to some of those, Janelle, you are more than welcome. So Janelle broaches this with Barbara and a buddy, and they're a little bit apprehensive. But upon listening to what other people have said, they think maybe we do need to give her a little bit of freedom. Maybe she needs just to be a little bit more free. Janelle is allowed to go and meet with Tracy, her new best pal pharmacist, and her friends. And it's a mix of men, women, and, there's a few different kind of age groups in there. And it's just a nice sort of group of people. And when she sort of steps into that world, Tracy's said to them, look, Janelle has some learning difficulties that might make her appear slightly younger than she is, but take her for the age that she is, not how she sounds. And it's not too long before she's socialising. And it's when she's socialising that Janelle meets the pharmacist's brother, whose name is Billy. And she likes a bit of Billy. Oh, aye. Oh, aye, she does. Billy's quite handsome. He's round about her age. And he's really nice to her. They get along really, really well. And Janelle starts to, get herself a wee crush on the go. Starts to really like Billy. And she enjoys, when she's got a social event coming up and Billy's going to be there. Now, Tracy can see this. And Billy's her brother. And she's thinking, he's not going to go for this. Like, he's not going to go for Janelle as a girlfriend. She knows him. And she's like, he's just not, I can tell he's not into her. Nothing's going to come of this. But being the nice person that she is, what Tracy does here is she thinks, well, actually, do you know what? I could set her up with someone else in the group. And sort of move her, try and divert her attention away from Billy towards someone else. And that's exactly what she does. Tracy introduces Janelle to a man called Curd. Yes, you heard me correctly. He's called Curd. As in the thing that little Miss Muffet ate when she sat on her tuffet. or that sort of lemon spread you put on toast. I bloody love that stuff. So Curd, I mean, I don't even know what Curd comes from, unless that is his actual name. But okay, fine. Now he's a little bit older than Janelle, so he's nearly 50. So he's 20 years older than her. But that's no problem for Janelle, and it's no problem for him. And so the two of them, they meet. They actually start getting on pretty well. Now, Janelle, in her appearance, she's very, very well turned out. Like, her hair is always done. She's always wearing really pristine clothing. Curd is not quite as well turned out as that. He's a little bit scruffy. There's all these sort of pictures of him at parties, and he's got like really long floppy hair. He's always usually wearing sunglasses indoors. He looks like something right out of the 80s. But anyway, that aside, they get on really well. And this is a change in Janelle's life, because she can sort of put the thoughts of her crush on Billy out of her head. Or can she? Anyway, what starts to happen is her and Curd try to figure out a way that they can spend time together, because you see, Buddy and Barbara are not going to be okay with her having a boyfriend. they're just not, they're okay with the yes, you can go out socialising. They're not about to turn around and say, oh yeah, you can have a boyfriend. That's a step too far. So here's what they come up with. Curd's pretty good with IT. He's pretty good at computers and all that sort of stuff. So, when Janelle tells her mum and dad there's a sudden issue with my computer and I need to get someone to look at it, they say, okay, we'll call someone round. And she says, I know just the fellow. His name is Curd. So Curd comes to the house. He is there as the IT man, the computer fixing man. He meets Barbara, he meets Buddy, they bring him into the house, and of course he goes off to Janelle's bedroom to fix her computer, which is not broken, and this gives them a little bit of time together. And this kind of charade continues for a while, and they manage to get away with it for a really, really long time. Barbara and Buddy have no idea that the man who's coming to fix their, IT things at home is actually seeing their daughter. And it's during those times when he's in her room pretending to fix things that they're actually, being sneaky. And they're kissing and they're, and then when he's not got the opportunity to pop round to the house, they're on the phone. They're on the phone every single day for sometimes up to an hour. And again, her parents, no clue. Now this is nice for Janelle. This is really lovely. This is a move forward in her life. But there is a secret in her, and that is she is still thinking about Billy the pharmacist's brother, part of that group she joined, same group that Curd belongs to. In fact, Billy and Curd are friends, but no one knows just how obsessed Janelle is with Billy. She cannot stop thinking about him. So on Facebook, she's friends with Billy. She's watching him all the time. She's seeing what he's up to. She's constantly seeing what he's posting. Probably to a certain degree, slightly stalking him. I don't want to use the word. Stalking's maybe a bit of a harsh word, but, checking up on him. Doing the old, just see what this person's been up to. Seeing if they put up any new photos. You know the way that people do that with their exes and things, don't you? And don't say you haven't done it, because you would be lying. You would be lying to me. But Billy's completely unaware of all of this. As far as he's concerned, Janelle is just someone his sister brought into their little group. And he thinks she's nice enough and she's dating Curd. And he doesn't really think anything else of her. Now, things are about to take a very, very ugly turn for Janelle. Billy, the object of Janelle's desire, meets a young woman and very quickly falls in love. Now, the woman's name is also Billy. Well, actually, it's Billie Jean. Brilliant. I love it when a couple have the same first name. It's so good. So Billy starts dating Billie Jean. Now, I'm just going to say, if you are a regular listener to this podcast, you no doubt at this moment expect me to burst in to song and sing a bit of Billie Jean. But I don't like to be too obvious, so I'm not going to do that. So, Billie Jean, who's she? Well, she's a very pretty, blonde, mountain city resident. And when her and Billy meet, they get engaged. And very quickly, Billie Jean falls pregnant. I mean, that's just great, isn't it? Because what they could do is, they could have a baby and they could call it Billy. That's totally what I would do. I'd be like, this is so good. Just for a laugh, call everyone in the family Billy, even the dog. Be like, dog's called Billy. Great. Who do you think is watching all of this unfold on Facebook? Well, Janelle. And she is livid at the situation. She is so furious that she's watching the man of her dreams meet someone, get engaged, and then fall pregnant. Now, she's still dating Kurd, but the fact that this has happened, it's really rocked her world. And it's around about this time that Janelle starts to receive some hideous messages on Facebook. Out of the blue, out of nowhere, a series of messages begin, and they start with messages like, "You are ugly. You are a whore." Now, at first, she ignores them. Janelle's just like, whatever, puts them aside. But they get worse. The messages to Janelle start saying things like, "You are going to be raped. You will die soon, bitch." And now Janelle is freaking out. Right, who's sending these? Why is she being targeted? So she doesn't say anything for a while. And then eventually, she tells her mum and dad. She tells Barbara and Buddy, and of course, they are completely shocked. Now, what Barbara does is she goes straight on to Janelle's Facebook profile and she writes a message where she says, "Stop sending my daughter vicious messages. Stop it right now." Janelle will say to her parents, "I know exactly who it is. It's Billy and Billie Jean. They hate me. They want to hurt me. They're picking on me." Okay. Now, is Janelle in any way an angel in the situation? No, she isn't. You see, this is what Janelle's been up to. Since Billy and Billie Jean have got together, she has been posting plenty of venom towards the couple. She's been writing messages that Billie Jean is a devil woman. And, I mean, this is just hideous. She hopes that they lose their baby. I don't know about you, but I'm starting to quickly lose a bit of sympathy with Janelle here. She calls Billie Jean just the worst names you can think of, and it becomes this hideous kind of back and forth online battle. Who said what about who? And it just all gets a bit silly. Now, it's Billy and Billie Jean who take the logical decision in this situation, and they decide, do you know what? We just need to unfriend Janelle. We just need her out of our lives. We don't need this, right? We're about to have a baby. We're young, we're in love. Can we just get on with this? And that's easy, isn't it? Unfriending, it's so simple. It's one click. It's one push of the button. But it is the worst thing that they could ever have done. Cutting Janelle off will prove to be disastrous. So the messages, they continue to come through to Janelle. She's really being targeted by someone or a group of people who really, really dislike her. The messages contain warnings like, "I'm coming for you," or "Watch out, Janelle, we're watching you." Janelle does her best to sort of put up a fight with words, but it's useless. So by now her parents have to really get fully involved because the threat level starts to go up. The threats are now against Buddy and Barbara. So the messages that Janelle's receiving are essentially death threats against the Potter family. Buddy and Barbara are told, "You're going to turn on your car ignition one day and boom, your car's going to go up in smoke." There's a point where a rock gets thrown through the window of Buddy's truck as it's parked in the driveway of their house. Now, according to Janelle, this is all Billy and Billie Jean who've just lost their mind. They've lost their mind and they're coming for the whole Potter family. I will remind you that Billy and Billie Jean are the ones who stepped out of the situation, who just unfriended Janelle, and that was it. One night Janelle wakes her mum and dad up, screaming that someone is standing on the lawn of their home looking in the window. And Barbara and Buddy are, of course, scared. Let's go back to that rock, the rock that was thrown through Buddy's window when the car was parked at the house. It has 2 names written on it. The 2 names are Billy and Billie Jean. Troubling. Very odd. This rock, right, this rock becomes a very peculiar detail for me in this story. We'll come back to this because this rock causes me no end of issues. So for the meantime, the Potters, they don't know what to do, but help is on the way. And help is going to arrive in the form of a CIA agent. I mean, thank God. You know, it's the best of the best. Here we go. A CIA agent called Chris has gotten in touch with Janelle to say, I've seen these horrendous messages that you're receiving and I'm going to monitor these and we're going to do our best to protect you. Buddy and Barbara, they are really, really happy about this. They finally feel like, okay, someone has stepped in to help. So what happens is Barbara takes over communication with Chris, the CIA agent, by email. And that's when she receives an email from him and it says, I have to remain anonymous in all of this, but I have been monitoring your daughter Janelle's troubles, and all I can say is she is in danger, as are you. There are people out to get your family and you must be careful. I will watch closely, but I have to remain a secret. So Buddy and Barbara start to think, okay, this is at a really serious point now, and ultimately what they want to do is protect their daughter. So they're waiting for advice from Chris, the CIA man, to figure out, you know, what is it that they're supposed to do. And during that time, Curd, who is still Janelle's boyfriend, he gets involved and he's very much on Janelle's side. And although he's friends with Billy and Billie Jean, he says he won't stand for anyone bullying Janelle. So he sort of cuts them out of his life. Whilst all of this is happening, Billy and Billie Jean have had their baby and they are just minding their own business. Billy and Billie Jean, do you know what? I can't do it any longer. I actually can't do it any longer. Billie Jean is not my lover. Ooh! Right, there we go. I just had to do it. Oh my god, it feels so much better. I just had to get that out of my system. Okay, I just couldn't keep saying the name Billie Jean with I mean, it's going round my head in a fucking loop. All I can hear is Billie Jean, and it's like stuck in my... Anyway, they both work at the local cotton mill, and they work these really like long shifts. So between work and the baby, they're exhausted. They're essentially just a young couple with a baby who are knackered. It's an ordinary Tuesday evening in their home when they hear a noise outside. They think, what was that? It sounded like footsteps near their front door, so Billy goes to look and there's no one there. He comes back inside, standing in the living room, and he says to Billie Jean, it's nothing. I thought there was something there, but there's no one there. Seconds later, 2 figures step into the living room, stand behind Billy, raise a knife, and Billy's throat is cut open and he falls to the living room floor. Billie Jean is watching this. She immediately runs to the bedroom to get the baby. The 4-month-old is in his playpen, and she grabs the baby and she tries to run, and as she does, a shot is fired at her head and she collapses with the baby in her arms. Billy is lying bleeding from the neck in his living room when a single shot is fired into his skull, killing him. And then the house falls quiet. The 2 visitors leave. The following morning, Janelle logs onto Facebook and she cannot believe what she's reading. There's just this massive outpouring of grief on Facebook for Billy and Billie Jean. They're dead. What? I mean, it's shot across the whole town. It's massive shock. Hearing the gunshots at their home, a neighbour had called the police. And when police had entered the home of Billy and Billie Jean, what they had found was Billie Jean still with the baby in her arms. Thankfully, alive. Thank God. Horrific. I mean, absolutely horrendous. The baby is covered in his mother's blood, but is alive. However, Billy and Billie Jean, they're dead. And so, an investigation begins. And once more, we go to Facebook. It doesn't take long. It does not take long for people to start saying, okay, police, you need to go and speak to Janelle. She was the biggest enemy. You need to go and speak to her right now. So here's what the police decide to do. They go to the Potter home and they're secretly wearing a wire. And so obviously the Potters don't know that they're being recorded. And when they get there, they have a bit of a conversation with the police, and the Potters say, we're just in complete shock. Like, we just cannot believe this has happened. And police say, okay, we'd like to speak with Janelle now. And of course, Buddy and Barbara insist upon being there. They couldn't possibly leave Janelle, for a second to do anything. They have to be there. And Janelle will say the same thing. She'll just say, I went onto Facebook this morning and I just can't believe that this has happened. I'm completely shocked. When it's bloody frustrating, but when the police ask Janelle a question, she barely gets a second to answer before her mum or her dad talk on her behalf. It's really irritating. So they say to her, right, okay, can we talk about Curd? Was he a friend? And Buddy answers, yes. Aye, but Buddy, the question wasn't for you. So, shh, please. So police say to Janelle, was Curd more than a friend? And Buddy says, no way. I mean, again, butt your nose out of it. Buddy, they're not your questions, right? No one's asking you these questions. Shh, for a minute, please. Police start to look around and they see that Buddy has quite the gun collection in his house. Interesting. So they have it's not a formal discussion with him. They just want to know, does he know anything about these murders? And he says no. Barbara, the mother, do you know anything about these murders? And she says, no, I don't know anything about them. But Barbara will say this, and this definitely gets police interest. She starts talking about the emails from the CIA. She starts telling them the whole story about the trouble that they've had, and Janelle's been getting these horrible messages on Facebook, and we've had death threats, and don't know what's going on. And police think, okay, well, can you show us the emails? So she does. And whoa, they think, odd. This is very bizarre. A lot of them are spelled incorrectly. The grammar is awful. Police kind of don't know how to make heads nor tails of it. They're a bit like, what the hell is going on here? So they put that aside, essentially. For the meantime, what they do is they leave the Potter family and this email business, and they start to pull together the various players in this double murder. Basically, anyone who might be connected. Now, Curd is one of the people that they want to speak to. They think, okay, close to Janelle, because although Buddy was trying to, in the house, go, no, she doesn't, that's definitely not more than a friend. They've listened to other people who've gone, yeah, Janelle and Curd have been going out for a long time. So they want to talk to him. So they ask him, did you have anything to do with this? They don't get very far with Curd at first. He's a very closed book. He's a hard man to break. He just doesn't really give much away at all. So they think, okay, let's do a polygraph test. And this is where it all changes. His polygraph test is an absolute shitfest. It goes totally tits up for Curd here. Asked questions on the polygraph like, are you dating Janelle Potter? He says no. Machine says, you're lying. Have you ever sought revenge on anyone? No, says Curd. Machine says, liar. Were you at the murders? He says, no. Machine says, lying. Do you know who killed Billy and Billie Jean? No, he says. Machine says, you're lying. Okay, it's not looking great for Curd. Really not great at all. I mean, this is a total side comment, right, away from the story, but I would love to take a polygraph test just to try it. Just for a laugh. I think it would be so much fun. Not to answer, like serious questions like, are you secretly a psychotic killer? I don't mean that, right, which I'm not, but you know what I mean. More like, who do you actually prefer? Madonna or Kylie? Do you know what I mean? I think that would be really fun. What kind of books do you actually like to read? Classic novels or the Sweet Valley High books? Which is it? You know that bit in your brain when you think, you sort of convince yourself of things and you think you're telling the truth about something and you're not? That, I would love to just get into a bit of that. I think it's really interesting. Anyway, obviously I realise polygraph is for way more serious things than that. Anyway, back to Curd. So he's done the polygraph test and police have to say to him, this is not showing you in a good light at all. Then Curd is going to ask a question which throws police entirely. This just throws everything. He asks during his interview, is the CIA here? And he asks it in a sort of deadly serious tone of voice, kind of like he's scared. And the officer who's interviewing him has to take a second and be like, sorry, what? The who? The CIA? Why would they be here? And Curd says, well, the CIA, they were involved with these messages that Janelle was getting. And police say, okay, give us a second. And they go back to the file with the original notes in it and they see that, Barbara Potter definitely mentioned something about the CIA in some emails, and they're like, what is going on here? So they go back, they start to run a few different checks. And this is what they discover. The correspondence between Chris, the CIA agent, and Barbara about the terrible abuse that's happening are coming from inside the Potter house. They're coming from the exact same computer Janelle uses for Facebook. Okay. This is a game changer for police. They realise that Janelle is actually the CIA, or someone in that house is pretending to be the CIA. There is no Chris. And then actually, of course, what you suddenly realise is the CIA, of course, don't just randomly drop in when there's been a Facebook feud over who fancies who and get involved. Of course not. It's fucking ridiculous. But Janelle and Barbara and Buddy and Curd were so convinced of the CIA's involvement in this that's why he genuinely asked police it, like a real question. So they go back to the Potter family and they tell them their findings. They have to say, Janelle, these are coming from the same computer that's in your bedroom. And she denies this. She says, no, Chris is real. This is real. I was really getting these death threats. And he stepped in to help. And police say, no. Because those death threats, those messages, they weren't real. They were coming from a fake account that you created and sent to yourself. You essentially just tried to frame an innocent couple with a young baby. They were never sending you these messages. They wanted to live a quiet life, and you fucked it up. In order to try and support her, Buddy and Barbara will of course say, no, we believe her. This is all a mistake. This time they bring Buddy down to the station for a chat. Does he know anything about the deaths? He says no. He denies it and denies it for hours. And then eventually, in a soft voice, Buddy says, I was just trying to protect my family. They ask him what he means, and he confesses. Buddy was the one who went to the house of Billy and Billie Jean and killed them. Was he alone? Police ask. Yes, he says, at first. And then he says, no, Kurd was with me. But he didn't do any of the killing. I did. He says, I slit Billy's throat and I fired the shot into Billie Jean's head, and then I returned and finished off Billy. At the station, they make Buddy call home to Barbara. To his wife, he has to say the words, Barbara, I did it. Now, is Barbara shocked? Is she devastated? Hard to tell. She's quite a stony presence, Barbara. Hard to tell what she's thinking. And so, of course, now police are starting to wonder, well, did she already know this? Was Barbara actually a big part of these murders as well? That hangs in the air. In the meantime, Buddy and Kurd are, of course, arrested. Both are charged with murder. But what will it mean for Janelle and for her mother? Police have not quite finished with them yet. They see they want more time with Barbara. They're just not sure that she might not have had a massive hand to play in some of this. So in the end, police decide this is what they have to do. They have to arrest Janelle and Barbara as accessories to this double murder. So now we've got 4 people accused of this crime. And of course the big question that's circulating is, was this a project that the 4 of them designed together? Was it? That's certainly what is trying to be proven in court. That between the 4 of them, they each played their part in the murders. Janelle was the fire starter. She kicked the whole thing off. Barbara was the enabler. She kept it moving. Kurd was the companion. He helped out. And then Buddy, of course, was the ultimate killer. When it all shakes down, here's what happens. All 4 of them are found guilty in this crime. Buddy gets life in prison for the deaths. Kurd gets 25 years for his part. Both Janelle and her mother get life sentences, with a good chance of parole, but they have to serve a minimum of 20 years. The baby who survived this, Billy and Billie Jean's baby, gets taken away by Billie Jean's sister and is now happily thriving as a young child, but of course without parents. Whilst the 4 involved in this crime all sit rotting in prison. And to this day, Barbara and Janelle will deny that they had anything to do with this. Janelle eventually confessed that yes, she did make up the CIA emails, but the rest, she says, is true. She will adamantly say to anyone who will listen, I did not set my parents and my boyfriend up to commit a double murder. It may look like it. all the pieces might be there, but I didn't. Barbara will maintain she knew nothing of this. Both women say they've been wrongfully convicted. Kurd will say that his part in the crime was to protect his girlfriend, and that he really did believe the CIA were involved. Buddy just refuses to speak. Before we go, I just want to come back to one detail, because I know you all love a detail. It's one that bothers me. I mentioned it earlier on. It's the rock. The bloody rock that was thrown through the truck window, and it had the names Billy and Billie Jean written on it. Now, if at the time the Potter family were all inside the house, who threw that rock? That's what I really want to know. And it's never, ever, ever, ever been worked out who threw the rock. Do you know my first thought, my first guess, right, when I was looking at the story was, I think I know who this was. I think this was Kurd. I think he might have known that Janelle was fabricating bits of this, and he thought, actually, just to up the drama here, up the ante, I'll throw the rock, and we'll write their names on it, and make it look like it was them. I mean, to be fair, right, let's just ask the really obvious question. If you're going to fucking throw a rock through somebody's truck window, you're going to write your name on it, are you? I don't think so. That's a bit daft. Yeah, the rock bothers me, because I just don't know who threw it, or how Janelle made that happen to sort of up this level of drama. So I'm not sure that I understand that. If you've got theories, if you've got thoughts, please tell me. Also then I came to the strange figure who appeared on the lawn and scared Janelle, senseless one night. And then I thought, actually, do you know what? She just ran into her parents' bedroom and told them there was a strange figure. And by the time they got there, the figure was gone. Might probably never existed. So that's the story of what happened with Janelle Potter and Facebook. And so let this be a warning to you. Be very careful who you unfriend on Facebook. And I think what you've learned from this is a really important lesson. If you're friends with me, don't even think about unfriending me. You'll be very sorry. I'm kidding. I mean, I'm not making light, but it is a fucking twisted story. And I think that man was right when he said that Mountain City is just a whole lot of crazy. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this. Hasta la vista, baby. Or as they say in China, okay, goodbye.
It didn't affect me really one way or the other. I would imagine from the look on his face, let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over. Let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over.